Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quasar QUA-NOLOGY, the podcast that reviews every chronological appearance of your favorite cosmic-powered superhero, Quasar. I'm your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell. The chronological always just like tickles me a little bit. I love that. But yeah, we're gonna be taking a look at the 4-part mini series, like story arc, Journey into Mystery, which is Quasar issues 13, 14, 15, and 16.
And this was very big at the time, miniseries within a series. And as someone that was buying it at the time it came out, my guess was that sales were dropping, and this was a desperate attempt to boost sales. And so to do that, they got 4 fairly big, popular artists at the time to draw the 4 covers. And on the part 1, number 13, we see this is Jim Lee.
Yeah.
But before we go forward, I must say, by Jim Lee's standards of the day, this is a little bit phoned in. What do you think?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't love it.
Right.
It's kind of an odd thing to pick from, I think, out of everything that happens in the comic. It's like he's looking at Mar-Vell's grave, I guess. But the thing is, we don't even know that it's Mar-Vell on the cover. Like, you have to read it to find out what's even happening. Like,
which is could be intentional. Like, maybe it's like, oh no, who died in Quasar? Oh, no one.
Sure, but it doesn't even really look like a tombstone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that it could have been.
Sure.
But I mean, it's fine. I don't know.
So yeah, we're gonna do some quick summaries for today. So basically, Quasar is contemplating his fate by looking at the grave of Mar-Vell, who Joshua Mervell gets his name from.
Right.
And then suddenly a spaceship crashes on Earth, and out from the spaceship appears the Squadron Supreme, who we know from. I don't know, where do we know them from? I'm not sure.
I feel like we recently talked about them. Because some of the characters seem a little bit familiar, but then others, I'm like, I have no idea who this person is.
I don't remember where we talked about them, but just for those that don't know, the Squadron Supreme started out as a joke at Marvel, as kind of a homage to
the Justice League, right?
The Justice League, yes. And then I think it was originally only 4 members, and then it expanded to include doppelgangers or whatever for every member of the Justice League, including later members like Firestorm, Black Canary, people like that, Zatanna. So anyway, so they appear, and it's kind of a running gag. They call themselves the Ex-Squadron Supreme, the former. But when Quasar and Makari hear it, they hear the X, like the X-Men.
Like the X-Men, yeah, it's funny.
Right. So they quickly have like a misunderstanding. They all fight, and then we're introduced to this character, and I just reread the story like today, and I don't remember. Is this
Hyperion?
No, the homeless guy.
Oh, is that not what's his? They call him.
Is it Stranger or
it's not the Stranger.
Unimind?
Yeah, Unimind or whatever they call him. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we should point out that if you're listening to the show or watching the show. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to the show, you can also watch it on YouTube or the Comic Book Syndicate website. It's available with a video content. But we were supposed to review these issues many a month ago, but we just got sidetracked. So we're trying to make up for time here. So anyway, we're introduced to that kind of homeless character on Earth, who we find out later is the Unimind. But anyway, jumping through this issue, Quasar is with the Squadron Supreme trying to figure out what's going on. So he dashes off, as he usually does, communicates. We cut back over to the office, and we get kind of a running subplot. With some tension with his newest employee, Mrs. Steckley. And this is a subplot that runs through all 4 of these issues, but we're usually only given about 3 to 4 pages maximum, right? So we're skipping ahead here, and Quasar is trying to find out information from Eon, but as usual, Eon is being very elusive. And he also even says, by the way, have you seen my dad? He's like, yes, I've seen him.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Well, his dad's dead, so there's obviously something suspicious going on with Eon here. Anyway, Quasar goes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's not at this. It's not at this part at all.
Okay, so Quasar, he goes to get back to where the squadron is, and he runs into 2 of the members who start fighting him, of course. He ends up kind of breaking away and finds out that they're being mind controlled. My least favorite trope of superhero comics. He races back to where are they again? Where are they?
Project Pegasus.
Project Pegasus.
Yeah.
And basically, he explains to Hyperion what's going on, and Hyperion's like, "Well, I need your help, Quasar. You must help me rescue my friends." So here's the thing, and I with the hindsight of reading all 4 issues, this issue is a little bit of a mess, and it's sort of, it's sort of a preview of what's to come.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. What did you think of it?
It was maybe, it was fine as a setup, especially going into it knowing this is a part 1. It felt very rushed with the Ex-Squadron Supreme, and not being familiar with those characters myself, I was like, oh, how are they going to be integrated into the story? Who are these people? And it's just kind of like brushed under the rug. And then again, this homeless man this guy who appears homeless on the street, kind of like created, like taking over their ship or whatever. Like, it intrigued me to see what was going on, but I think besides it being like a setup for what's happening, there's not much going on. Like, it's not much of a story by itself, so it's fine. It's an okay start to the story, but I don't think I feel like it just keeps going downhill from here.
Yeah,
as the issues go on.
And we should also point out that the art is okay, but it's not great. The inks are by Dan Panosian, who I actually have him on Facebook, and I vote him as the most improved artist of the 90s, because when he started out, his art was kind of generic image 90s kind of art, and now he's become much, much better. But his style is still not quite to my liking. But in this issue, paired with Mike Manley, I just find his inks kind of rushed and scratchy, and a little bit of that blame has to fall on Mike Manley too as the penciler. It's just not great, eh?
Yeah, it's fine. It kind of feels like a lot of it bleeds together, and maybe that is the printing or the scans that we're reading, but I felt in this issue in particular, things felt kind of heavy-handed and just like laid on thick at times. Right.
We should point out, even like the page you're on right now, Mike Manley still is a good storyteller. Like, this is something, there's a really terrible artist I like to pick on, named Mark Bagley, who has had a very successful career for 30 years, inexplicably. But look at this page, and it's not a great page, but even just the fact that we're on a wide shot, then we're on like a shot on the street, then we cut to a wide showing the character and the pedestrians behind him, then we cut to a close-up over his head, then we cut to an extreme close-up of his face. That's just, that's not genius, but it's good storytelling. It's visual variety. If you flip around, there was another page I just saw a minute ago. If you flip around,
what I like about this too is we don't really quite understand what's going on, but it still tells the story of what's happening, because we find out later what this guy's deal is. So also, like, going back and looking at this now, I'm like, oh, this is actually really smart how it's done, but I never really paid attention to it at the start.
Yep, exactly, yeah. It's pulling you in and making you want to find out what happens next, right? That's part of the key to storytelling, I think. Do you mind just flipping through?
Was it backwards or?
No, forward. Okay. I don't know. I'm just kind of glancing at the pages here, and since this is video content, like even that page right there, like Quasar, we have a side shot of his face as he's thinking. Then he enters the room, and we see Eon in the foreground. The next panel is a little bit similar, but then the next page we jump to a new establishing shot of the scrapyard. It's just, this is classic comic book storytelling. So, it's fine. It's just not his best. But yeah, we've got a lot of issues to cover, so we're gonna jump to part 2 of this story. And
That's
Josh, you
right.
can take the lead on this one.
Yeah, and again, we have another guest.
Yeah, let's
guest
talk about
artist for the cover, Todd McFarlane. Immediately, I was like, "Whoa!" Like it's so, like you could tell right away. It's just so him, so different.
Yeah.
What a great person to draw Quasar to, with like that amazing cape, the cosmic cape. Him flying through space is really fun. This more like stylized version of the Stranger is really cool in the background, with this like super exaggerated like pointy mustache that like zigzags. I love it. Yeah, it's really fun.
Now, I have to give a different perspective, because this was during the peak of McFarlane for me and for most people. However, you see those videos online of like, what does Radiohead sound like to people that don't like Radiohead? And they do like a parody. This is almost like, how do people who don't like Todd McFarlane see Todd McFarlane? And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm only saying it because I was used to Paul Ryan Quasar. And so then when I see this, I can understand why John Romita's senior fans, for example, don't like Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, because it's so radically different. I do think this is a great McFarlane image, but to me, it's not Quasar. But on its own,
that's fair.
Yes, I see the visuals like the quantum bands with the energy like curling around into the logo. That's great. The giant cape you mentioned, like the zigzag like pattern of his flight path crossing into the image of the Stranger in the background. It's just pure McFarlane. And then having like the shadows reveal the star field behind him. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying, because here he looks like this like swashbuckling hero, right? And Quasar's a dork, right? Like even when he's being a hero, he's kind of the nerd of the group and outcast. So I definitely see that. But so with that in mind, I see that. I don't know. I have a soft spot for McFarlane. So, but yeah, this one, we start off, he's talking to Ego and his dad and figuring out what's going on. And again, we get this weird moment where Ego says that he's able to call his dad back.
Yeah, this is even weirder.
It's like this weird projection of his dad. And Quasar has this moment where he's like, that felt really strange. Something's going on. Maybe my dad is still upset, because the last time they had actually talked in person, they got into a huge argument. So he knows something weird is going on, but not sure what. So he flies him, Makari, and Hyperion
I want to
point
out something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Quickly, I do think that scene was miscolored, because I think Quasar himself and the father are supposed to be both projections. So to me, because he's looking at the image in his quantum band, right? So to me, that panel 5 there, the bottom left, they should both be like yellow or gold, right? To show that it's like a simulation.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I just think that's a coloring mistake, because I was confused. Like, why is he? It's like, is he touching a dead body? No, it's a projection touching a projection. So. Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, they fly off to space. They find this gigantic planet, and this Unimind guy is there with the rest of the Squadron Supreme, who are being mind controlled. And they go into this like laboratory planet, and they're kind of running amok. Quasar and the gang show up. They are like looking around. Although the three of them actually split up to find them, and we see Quasar is being attacked, or not attacked, I guess. At this point, like talking to these group of people, he goes into the ship and he finds this gigantic body. And he assumes that it is the Stranger, and it's like some person that the Stranger is using to like make a new body. It's some weird stuff, but all of the characters are kind of going through and finding out that this planet is not what it seems. Makari is like running over dead bodies, and then the dead bodies open up, and he's flowing through space, and he meets this robot space woman, and it's all this kind of like weird nonsense happening on this, laboratory planet. And like I can go through and talk about everything that happens, but it's not really of any importance. Just weird shit is happening. We cut over back to the Unimind with the Squadron Supreme, and he starts taking over the planet, and he's now controlling every being that is trapped on this lab planet. We cut back over to Earth, and we see that once again there's some stuff happening. The new employee,
Miss.
Hello,
what's her name here? I got it. Hold on.
Tanika?
Oh
no, that's what's her? That's the other girl.
It's Tanaka. No, you're right. It's
Steckley.
HD Steckley. Yes.
Right. So she's kind of like, I'm using Wendell's office because I'm tired of doing this. So she goes in and is like messing with his bookshelf. We cut back over to the stranger, and he is like traveling and finds this watcher who is dead, and he's confused as to what's that's actually where it ends, sorry. And he's confused as to what's happening, and we're left on this cliffhanger to figure out what's going on with the watcher.
I got to make a little comment about storytelling and all this. So Jim Lee, famous artist, right? Well, when I used to read X-Men when he first started, one of the things that really pissed me off is that I got the feeling he did not plan the page or the issue. He would just he would draw until he ran out of pages. And I've actually written a couple of superhero comics on my own, and I was very meticulous about planning out the panels because you want your last panel, if not to be a splash page, you want it to be something to hook the reader in. But if you were to just glance at this last page of the stranger,
it doesn't feel like a final page.
The only reason you know it's the last page is because it says next Death Watch. That's a terrible cliffhanger. And even as recently as Ed Brubaker's Captain America run, which was already like 15 years ago, I started to notice this where they just felt like, they ran out of pages again. Like there is such an art to a great cliffhanger ending where you have a big reveal or something that makes you want to come back and read the next issue. But this does not do it. And this goes back to our theory about how this is kind of rushed. Like, to me, this whole last page, one panel of him coming in on a dead body, and it's the Watcher.
Right.
The Watcher's dead. That's the hook.
Like, do we need this happening here? Like, this, the page before is like practically a giant splash page.
Yeah, it's just filler, right?
Of the stranger doing nothing, and it's like texts of not like this is not important. What's happening here? Like the description of him going to another galaxy, and it's like this moon that's close to Sirius, and blah blah blah. Like nothing matters, and they could have just had him showing up here, like this page. He's walking through the tunnels. He sees like the silhouette of the Watcher or something, and he steps in, and it's a splash page of him dead!
Exactly.
Exclamation point, question mark.
Right.
To be continued. Right. Yeah.
And you know what else? There's something. Now that I'm thinking about it, the one like there's. I always like to focus on some things that comic books can do and that other mediums can't. But one of the things about comic books is that the medium is also dictated by the page number, and you could argue that, say, not like, let's just say you had a novel that was published, like Charles Dickens used to publish his books, I believe, in like chapters, right, like in magazines or whatever it may have been. But this is different in that, for example, the sequence you're on right now with the stranger, that could be 2 panels, it could be 1, it could be 0, it could be 6, or for like we mentioned, the shot of him discovering the body, that could take you 1 panel or 6, and you can manipulate the number of pages, or the number of panels so easily that you can have 1 page with 1 panel, 1 page with 12 panels, and that can change what you focus on, the speed that you're reading, a lot of things. And yeah, this is not an example of doing it properly, I don't think. No. So this issue, another really rushed issue.
Yeah.
The thing I gotta give credit to though is, this is something Mark Gruenwald's done in Quasar since the beginning, and that's he likes to give almost like a tour of the Marvel Universe with Quasar. And I like the fact that as we're going through this weird alien world, he drops in on these characters called the Ethicals. And I was like, who the hell are they? Well, it turns out they're a group of characters who were introduced in Machine Man number 12 and never given a name.
Oh.
And then you go through.
That's so interesting. I'm pretty sure this guy here is also a character.
Who?
I can't remember his name, but I definitely recognize this guy.
Oh, you mean the Bi Beast?
You're right.
He's the Bi Beast from Incredible Hulk 169. That's who that is.
Right.
Now
that's what I call Bex, actually. The Bi Beast.
all right.
I'm sure she would appreciate that one. But I think all in all, it's not great. I appreciate what that's happening, like everything that's happening and the story that they want to tell, but it's just not working for me. No. I don't think it's just a little too all over the place. And I love some like weird space wackiness, but there's no like substance to things that are happening. Like,
yeah.
Again, with what you were talking about, like I know we're gonna move on soon, but like this here, we see Makari is running through the forest, and then all of a sudden he's running over dead bodies, and he's like, huh, that's weird. All of these dead bodies must be from these 4 people fighting, and then all of a sudden he's in space, right? Like,
sure.
but the only reason we actually know what's happening is through the thought bubbles of the character.
Yes.
And not what we're seeing, which is not great. Like, we don't see him fall, like, we don't see a hole in the ground open up and him fall through. He's running, we cut away from him, and then we cut back, and he's in space. And he has to say, whoa, I just fell through this time hole. It's like, what's like, why is this happening? What's happening? It doesn't have anything to do with the story. Like,
they could have,
I don't know,
they could have cut out the wood god and cut out these other little crappy little things and just had him running, and then had him kind of like somehow like fall into space, but like show it more clearly of what's going on, right? Like he's running, and then all of a sudden a big huge panel just of him in space or something. I don't know what, but just to show, because if you just glance at this page, it's so like the panels are small and you're like, what's going on? Like, how did he get there? Because if you look at the panel right before it, you're right. It's like, okay, panel 1, he's running. Panel 2, you see his feet. Panel 3, where is he?
Yeah.
And then panel 4, he's in space. That's just bad. It's not smart.
Yeah.
And then, like, again, he runs into this cool character. It's kind of nice to see this girl. I don't know who she is. But
also, like, what's the importance of him even falling into space and finding this woman? Like, maybe she's a character from the Marvel universe that again is being brought back in, but what importance is she to the story? Why are we spending 2 pages with her and Makari doing this weird space adventure that has nothing to do with the plot? Like, she doesn't give him any information that helps him through the story. He doesn't learn anything. He doesn't like end up in a new place that's going to help him out later. It's just weirdness happening to show that this laboratory planet is huge and vast, but we've already seen that. This whole issue has been, hey, this place is fucked up. So
but there is one little detail I think you might have missed. Can you skip ahead to the big splash page when there's a big circle of characters all around him? I'm not sure.
Yes, here.
Okay, so this is original page. Oh, we don't have the original
So it's just
page.
So he doesn't get mind controlled?
Yeah, but
okay.
I think you missed something. Go to the top right corner.
Okay.
Top right corner. You recognize that bloke? The top right corner? Flying up into the corner right there?
Oh. Who is this?
That is none other than Starman 4 from DC Comics.
Oh.
Will Payton. Yes, folks. Little
Okay.
intercompany crossover there. Yeah, in his second costume.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's that about? Just like a little Easter egg, or?
Yeah, it's just an Easter egg.
Oh, that's cool.
It's just a little tribute to
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Starman.
I assumed most of these people were random new aliens or references to like small minor characters
I can tell
through
you,
Marvel Comics.
I recognize almost all of them.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, they're all real people. I'm just squinting and looking at them. Yeah, I think they're all for sure they're real. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, part 2, not much better than part 1. So now we're gonna jump to part 3.
Sure.
And okay, now you know who did this cover, obviously, right?
No, actually, I don't.
Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this was during, he was just starting to become really huge. Now, or people usually call him Mike Mignola, but the thing with him is, I do love him, but at this time in his career, he had this habit of drawing the same poses over and over. Like if you were to go Mike Mignola, DC Comics or Marvel Comics, all of his covers looked exactly like this. Someone standing, someone kind of leaning forward with that look on their face. And he is a great artist. He's great for tone, and I have nothing bad to say about him. But it's just that at the time I remember not loving this cover because it kind of just like everything else he did, But what do you think of this one?
Yeah, it's nice. The text is a little whatever.
Oh.
On the screen, like I don't love that. But the art is great.
Yeah, the art's good. The colors are great for sure. Apparently, the editors are the ones that write the text on the covers, and the text for all these issues is garbage. And I'm sorry, but I have to blame Howard Mackey because he's the editor and he's known to be a terrible writer. So sorry, it's his fault.
Yeah, like it's so strange that it looks like it was just like printed on or like typed on with a typewriter or something, like and if it were like part of the theme of the story, like like a detective or something, like in like a murder mystery or like some but it feels very not part of what's going on right now. So, but
also the fact that it has the Overmind TM.
Right.
Supreme TM. It just ruins it. It just looks too so like antiseptic. But anyway, okay. So
I will say really quickly too. I actually really love how Quasar's powers are rendered in his style.
Okay, like just with the energy field.
Yeah,
around him?
it's kind of cool and a new like fun take on it. And then even like the bubble around his like fist is kind of cool. So
sure, yeah,
it's nice to see people's interpretation of that.
So yeah, in this one we start out Quasar's fighting. This is this the Unimind?
No, this is just the giant.
Ego Prime.
Yeah. Oh, Ego Prime. So is that like Ego, like the living planet?
I think so. I don't know. I'm kind of losing track here.
It does kind of have his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and he's a giant. So.
Well, I got to point out that this character, this is Krakoa, who is famous for being the monster in Giant Size X-Men #1 when the new team was introduced. Sorry, if you skip ahead to the monster, right there at the top, back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Very famous monster, yeah. So I just kind of shoved in there, kind of weird. And then we jump back to the Unimind with the mind-controlled Squadron Supreme. Quasar confronts him, and then Unimind basically tells him that he has a mission for him. Right? He needs. Oh, because he basically threatens him, right?
He's like, yeah, I'll let everybody go if you bring back the stranger,
right?
To come fight me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he agrees to do it. He tracks down the stranger. The stranger's collecting dead Watcher corpses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quasar comes in and tries to explain to him what's going on. Again, this is very wordy. As you can see by these pages, there's a lot of dialogue here. Not all great, but we still love Mark Gruenwald. So we get these two strangers talking. Quasar goes in and is kind of eavesdropping on the conversation. They don't like that, so they pull an old trick they've been pulling since FF, Jack Kirby days. They make him disappear. However, Quasar has the power to pop right back in. So he starts talking to them, and they're really annoyed with him, but he continues to talk anyway. So then they punch him, and he punches them. There's a lot of punching, Oh, pages of punching.
Yeah, really, it's a lot of it.
And then I don't remember how this ends, but basically, this is where they find out that a kind of mind virus has been planned or planted by someone kind of realizing that whereas the Watchers have this oath of non-interference, someone had the idea that, well, just by watching, just by observing things as we do, we are interfering, right? So then once a Watcher thinks that idea, within a few seconds, they realize the only way to not interfere with anything is to commit suicide. And so apparently, I don't know if it's revealed here or later on, but there's 10 billion.
Yeah.
10 billion of the Watchers have already committed suicide. This idea is happening at the speed of thought. And so all these Watchers are dying. Now, the funny thing is, I love how flippant Quasar is when he finds out. And he's like, well, looks like the mystery's solved. Okay, let's get out of here.
Okay, come on. Yeah.
However, there's still a part 4 left, so we know there's more to come.
Right.
But before we can do that, Quasar disappears, but then the stranger... Oh, yeah, sorry. No, Quasar brings the stranger to the Unimind, right? And then we cut back to, again, a very crammed-in continuation of the subplot with I can never remember, Miss Steckley trying to get into the secret chamber of Eon. And we only get 3 panels of that.
Yeah. And really, too, it's also not even needed knowing the final little vignette. It's essentially the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, it's very stretched out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They probably just wanted to make sure that it lasted the 4 issues so they could continue it into the next issue.
Right.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
So what'd you think of this issue?
Yeah, not great. It was interesting to get a little bit of the Watchers. It was definitely more cohesive than the previous one. Because I feel like we get some new information. We get Quasar actually doing something that has substance. Like, instead of just flying through space and fighting demons and aliens and swamp monsters, he's actually like, okay, I need to go track down this guy. Ego, let me know where he's at. Tracks him down. There's this weird thing happening with the Watchers. So he's like, okay, let's track down all of these Watchers now. And he's like, he's doing Quasar things that he would normally do, kind of solving these space mysteries. And it's not like a fantastic story, but it at least has substance and things that our main character has to do. So
I definitely think that there was a great idea here. It's just that maybe the editors or someone was like, okay, you got to stretch this out to 4 issues and make it a double-sized final issue. Like, come on, are you kidding me? But who knows?
Yeah, and it is a lot of just Quasar punches the Watcher. Watcher punches Quasar. And it really could have been a fun mind mystery of Quasar trying to figure out what's happening with the Watchers and what's going on, because the fact that all of these Watchers are dying and we don't know why they're dying. It doesn't look like there's a struggle. It doesn't look like anybody's been fighting. There's no wounds. It's very strange. So it would have been kind of cool if they're trying to figure out who's the murderer, who's trying to do this. And then there's the revelation of, oh my goodness, these Watchers are taking their own lives because this weird mind virus is going around. And that's a really fun idea, but it's really just that, an idea, because right when that question is put out into the universe, it's pretty much answered immediately. There is no mystery going on. So in that sense, it does kind of fail, but it at least gives Quasar something to actually do this issue.
Right. So yeah, now we're gonna jump to the final part of this 4-part series called Journey into Mystery. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Are you familiar with Steve Lightle?
I am, actually, and I know a few of his covers in particular.
So Steve Lytle. Here, look at this. We have a series of covers by Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane and Mike Mignola, and Steve Lightle blows them all away.
Right.
This cover is it's a little bit of a generic pose, but his actual like the delicacy of his pencils and inks is I love it. He's just such a good artist. We should point out I think he became most famous for doing covers for Legion of Superheroes. Then he did classic X-Men covers after Art Adams stopped.
That's what I know him from.
Yeah. And then he did the Doom Patrol 1988 reboot or whatever year that was. Yeah, for like 2 issues. Then he left.
Oh,
and then I think he only did covers. But he is a great artist. You know what's sad? He actually died of COVID, like just a few years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, that's really sad.
But great artist, underrated because he didn't really do monthly books. But I love this cover. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's great. I think I really like the textures of Quasar's suit. Like,
yeah.
I never thought of like the yellow wings of his boots being chrome.
Yes.
Like, good it's point, really kind of cool. Like, I was like, oh, I didn't even think that's what that looked like, because it matches the chrome of like the bands and his belt, and honestly, even a little bit of his like emblem on his chest kind of looks like it's maybe like a shiny material.
Yes.
And then everything else really feels like it's fabric. Like you can see even like the inking in the thing is shiny, but then it's like really hatched in his legs, and it really does kind of make this look like you can feel the texture of it, which is pretty.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like it really works. So,
and the thing is, you know, if you were to adapt this superhero into a real live action film, you know, a lot of times people turn to like say Alex Ross. Oh, how would a superhero look like if he was real? They look at his art. But this is good in that, like you said, it's not just that it's realistic, it's that he's using his imagination to just upgrade everything just a little bit, just to give it more thought. Like, well, like you said, with the boots, with the logo, everything about him is just amped up just a little bit so that it's a little bit cooler. Now, obviously, he's more muscular and more macho than we usually would think of Quasar. But if I were to do a live action adaptation of Quasar, I would look to this Steve Lightle drawing as how to do his costume, I think.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
Yeah. So here we go. Part 4.
48-page mammoth.
We're going to talk about this in 48 seconds. Okay, so 48-second summary. So you're going to take this one, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. So, yeah, they kind of start having this weird mind battle with each other. And in this, like, it's strange. It's almost like it's a splash page between 2 pages on the top half, and then the bottom half is like regular panels. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of weirdly divided up, and it's interesting. So, page 1 and 2 are like the first panel, right? Like it goes across the whole thing. So you have to read it from page 1 to 2, and then go back down to the bottom of page 1 and read through the panels like normal, and then go to page 2 and read through the panels like normal. And I feel like having it in front of me, the non-digital version, it would make total sense, but it is a little strange reading it, the digital version. Sure. But we get the backstory of this Unimind guy. Really, it's just this weird backstory of he used to be like an Eternal from another universe, and his people were all about like war, so they would go to different planets and destroy them, and they kind of got bored to the point where they started fighting amongst each other, and he became this like ultimate warrior guy. So his people decided to combine all of them into one person and put all of their minds and powers into his body, so they can win a war against this other planet that kind of started fighting against them. And apparently the stranger is the other person. He is the all of like the other people's minds kind of mushed into one. So that's why they hate each other and they're fighting with each other. So yeah, they start blasting each other, and all of the mind-controlled monsters on this lab planet start fighting Quasar, and it's really just a big battle. Nothing much else happens. Like, we see Hyperion and Yarda, I believe, like this Wonder Woman character. They reunite, but it turns out she is still mind controlled, so they start fighting each other, and Quasar's using nunchucks. Power Princess. Okay.
Yeah. Zarda.
Okay. Quasar convinces the Unimind in like a really like cartoony way, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you like dropped everybody's mind control so you can use all your mind's power to fight this guy? And he's like, hey, yeah, that's a great idea. Like it's a Looney Tunes sketch. It's ridiculous. Right. So then all the mind control stops. So the Squadron Supreme is able to kind of come together and start fighting all of these monsters to kind of help them. So we see that kind of one at a time. It's really just this big battle, like all of these pages. And then as we see the Unimind and the Stranger fighting, the Stranger starts telling this story about how he was traveling through space and he found this pod, and inside was the real embodiment of this alien race that combined together. And when he first encountered the Unimind, he said he was this being. So this beef is actually not even like real. He's wrong at the wrong person, but Unimind doesn't really care. And we see the Watchers are all gathered around, and they're kind of having this conversation of like, ooh, should we interrupt? We need to talk to the Stranger right now. And then they're kind of like arguing amongst themselves if they're going to interfere. And while this is happening, the Unimind can hear them and knows that the Watchers are here. And he starts getting angry about the Stranger calling them for help. Like, he's getting paranoid and all in his own head. And because of that, the Stranger is actually able to get the upper hand and take over the Unimind and blast him. And then it weirdly wraps up where the Watchers show up and they're like, hey, we need your help. There's this weird mind virus and only you can do something about it. I'm trying to remember what he actually does. I'm pretty sure he does. Oh, what? He does Quasar? Something to... Yeah, Quasar also comes in and does something, and he's able to stop the Watchers from...
He convinces them that, well, if you observing affects the outcome of reality, doesn't killing yourself also affect the outcome of reality? Because, the people are going to find your bodies, blah, blah, blah. And he just basically Captain Kirk's his way into solving the problem, which is awesome. And he's so convincing. And by the way, we should point out that no one wants to listen to him because they're like, who is this idiot? He's just a human. We're like these godlike beings. But they end up being very impressed by his reasoning. And they're like, oh, you're wise beyond your years, blah, blah, blah. So not only do the Watchers stop killing themselves, they actually resurrect their own bodies. The ones that have killed themselves come back to life, which is okay, fine.
Whatever. Yeah, that's whatever.
And that resolves that storyline.
I mean, that resolves the whole issue, essentially, because they're on their way back to Earth, and then we cut over to the final epilogue of what's going on back at Earth. And again, we see her just kind of like standing in the doorway and going, yeah, I knew something weird was going on. And then it looks like Eco grabs her, maybe, and pulls her in?
I think so, yep. And she's not expecting it, so there's obviously more to this mystery than we know, right? And we'll have to find out what happens in next issue. But that's the end of Journey into Mystery.
Right.
Ooh. Again, and I felt this even as a kid. I felt like it was kind of just spinning their wheels, wasting a little bit, filling pages, a little bit rushed. The covers by guest artists were obviously an attempt to boost sales, which is fine, but
yeah, and it's a fun idea, I think, too, for like a cohesive miniseries, like having new artists come in. That was fun. But
it's not a great issue.
No, it doesn't really feel thought out. Like there's an idea there that works, like Quasar going to this place and kind of being entangled in this fight between two Celestials that are also kind of like tied in with the Watchers. Like, I feel like all of that really works. Like, even when I was reading it, I was like, why are they having this weird subplot where they're going to talk to the Watchers? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And then with this one, it really kind of felt like it tied it in at the end.
Sure.
But I think all of the filler nonsense of the laboratory planet just doesn't work for me. Like, why does it have to be the stranger is going around collecting all of these specimen from other places to learn about them? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why not just have the Unimind, like, you know,
well, yeah,
collecting a bunch of people to be under his control or something? Like, it just feels convoluted.
Well, it's very convoluted. The fact that I've read it twice and I barely understand that whole part of the subplot. Yeah, it's very convoluted.
Yeah.
So not great, not great. However, I believe things are about to get a little bit better in Quasar because next issue is a standalone story.
Oh, good.
Standalone story, but unfortunately it's Mike Manley's last issue. So be sure to join us next episode of Quasar Chronology, because we're reviewing Quasar number 17, Quasar number 18, as well as Captain America number 379, featuring a guest appearance by Quasar, also written by Mark Gruenwald. So that should be a lot of fun.
That is exciting, because that's kind of where all of this started, I think, right? With the Captain America issue.
I believe so, yep.
Yeah.
So it should be a good one, and I know it's a good one because I read it like 10 times. But anyway, so there you go, and Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It really helps if you leave us a comment or a review, so you can find all of our stuff over on our website at thecomicbooksyndicate.com, and all of our videos on our YouTube channel. So drop us a line, let us know what you guys think about the comics and the movies and the TV shows that we're talking about. So yeah, keep in touch and let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until the next time, see you later.
All right.